Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for Hedera Ecosystem Week 2022. Incredibly excited to be talking today with Mei Chan and Sammy Mian from Hashpack Wallet and Blade Wallet, respectively. And today we're going to be diving into ecosystem wallets on the Hedera network, and really excited to be chatting with you guys. To kick things off, curious about your backgrounds and where you came from, and what you think about the wallet, broadly across Web3, what the wallet sort of means to you, and why you've been interested in getting in the space.
I guess I'll go first. Thanks for the introduction. I am the CEO of Hashpack Wallet, and as a brief introduction, Hashpack Wallet was founded in the community. We were part of a Hedera Discord fan club, basically, and the community members last year just decided to get together and build something, and what we built was a wallet. We're a group of professionals that just sort of built this thing in our spare time, and over the course of a year, we have done some amazing things, have seen some crazy growth in the Hedera ecosystem, and there's just so much to talk about that I just would love to just get into today. So we can get right into that. But in terms of the wallet's place in the ecosystem, I think that really it's a pivotal piece of the ecosystem. It's the connecting point between users and between developers. So anything you want to do on a network is enabled by a wallet. And so whether it's Hashpack or another wallet, having a healthy wallet ecosystem on Hedera and other cryptos is really, really important. Yeah.
Great. Maybe I can take it for there. Just quick introduction. Sammy Mian is my name. I'm super excited to be here. I think one of my first sort of public appearances. But just a quick introduction to my background is enterprise business development from when I graduated university, actually, starting from Japanese corporates in financial companies. So 17 years in finance, and then in 2016 started really dabbling into, I guess at that time was Bitcoin, blockchain. 2017, I still thought it was a bit scammy. I had sort of no idea if this thing is going to blow up. And then end of 2017, I really started delving deep into the technology. Started looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and found this video by Mike Maloney about Hedera. It's on YouTube. And basically from there, I was like, yeah, this is it. Hedera is probably going to be one of those technologies that will look back and change the world. So I actually jumped into the Hedera team beginning of 2018 to head up Asia Pacific. Now, my original motivation in joining Hedera was because I've been in enterprise business development all my life. I was like, look, there's billions of users of these enterprises that can benefit from the utility of Hedera. That was really the motivation of joining Hedera, and also middle of last year leaving Hedera and starting this wallet journey, because my first onboarding onto Web3 was through a wallet. I think it was a MetaMask sort of browser add-in or something. Definitely not a good onboarding experience for me. It took me a long time to figure out sort of what was going on. And then speaking to more and more enterprises, I realized that it's actually one of the biggest frictions, right, to onboard users onto Web3. And given that the wallet is most times the first entry into the Web3 space, we figured we can add to the reduction of friction of onboarding the next billion users through enterprises.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for those introductions. So, you both have decided to build a wallet on Hedera. Sounds like for a couple different purposes, at least starting out, more of an enterprise focus on one end, and a bit more of a community focus on the other. I'm super curious to hear sort of the story behind your wallets, why you came to Hedera, and then maybe a little bit about some of the features and functionalities that you have available in both of the different wallets. May, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Hedera is a very attractive ledger to build on for a number of reasons. There's the technological reasons where fees are low and stable. They are fast. There's finality to the transactions. There's fair ordering, and basically it functions really well compared to other chains, and it's scalable as well. So as we see enterprise adoption, as we see users come in, we're going to see the network continue to scale properly and continue to perform. And already we're going at something like between 300 TPS in our peak hours, and it's getting larger every month. Coming 300 TPS is something that I saw last week, and it held for a day, a full day. It was kind of crazy. We're not really sure who was pushing that many transactions, but I think it's a trend that is starting to grow, and we're going to see more and more adoption from companies, from people. So it's very exciting that the network can perform as well as it has, even though we're seeing crazy amount of transactions going through the network. In addition to that, there's the governance of Hedera, which is it's backed by 20-some large corporations that are all over the world, that are all different cultures, that are from all different fields, and that leads to a very decentralized way of governing this platform that we can, really lean into the Web3 concept of having the network owned by the public and not just a single entity or a small group of entities. And of course, the nodes right now are run by the Hedera Governing Council. So in a sense, that's somewhat centralized, but at the same time, we're going down the pathway of decentralization where we'll have permission nodes, and then we'll have non-permissioned nodes, and then we'll have anonymous nodes. And I think that looking at the progression of decentralization over the past year, where we've now have native staking, and now we have native staking with rewards being handed out for staking on the network, we can see that Hedera is really holding true to its decentralization plans. So it's just looking really good for Hedera on multiple fronts. In terms of features on our wallet, we really wanted to lean into the retail side with Hashpack and the kind of crypto economy and get that going. So we built a lot of things that have really enabled the retail crypto economy on Hedera to start launching. And so we have things like NFT galleries, we have a native staking features, we have something called Secure Trade, which is a service that is peer-to-peer with atomic NFT trading. So you trade your NFT for HBAR there, and it just goes from account to account. So you can buy and sell in one transaction, and there's no way to cheat that. And that's seen a lot of use because basically you don't have to trust that the seller is going to give you the NFT and the buyer is going to give you the money. It just happens in one transaction. We recently launched a dapp browser, which we hope is going to highlight the ecosystem, what's currently out there from directly in the wallet. So you can go to the dapp tab on Hashpack and click, and you'll see all of the NFT marketplaces that are on there, all of the dexes, all of the games that are launching on Hedera, and it's really exciting. We've got in-wallet token swaps that came out since we now have dexes on Hedera as of 3 months ago, and that is pretty huge, and we think it works pretty seamlessly. And I think most importantly, that is kind of on the background, is we have this service called Hash Connect, which is an open source library that kind of works like a Wallet Connect, where you can connect between your dapp, if you're a developer, and the wallet so that users can access your dapp. And this is the library that we released at the beginning of the year that has enabled all of these crypto use cases to come online, such as staking, such as NFT marketplaces, indexes, and such. And we're also seeing some cool things being done with it, like token gating and also Discord bot integrations. So it's pretty exciting, and we're really looking forward to continuing to build in this space and accelerate the growth of use cases here.
Fantastic. So yeah, maybe I can just mirror my sort of experience in getting into this space, because I think generally everybody has an onboarding journey onto Web3, right? And they're a bit different, but mine was, I originally thought, okay, this is kind of scammy. I thought I saw some the twins, on CNBC, and I'm like, okay, what are they talking about? They're talking about some Bitcoin thing. And then I had some use case that I wanted to use that then motivated me to download the wallet and start using the technology. So for me, at least the onboarding journey wasn't wallet specific, so to speak. In other words, because I wanted to use something, because I wanted to use a use case, because a company had a feature that was enabled by a wallet, I downloaded a wallet. Now, because I started my journey of Hedera in Japan and also in Korea, and maybe it's specific to those two countries and maybe a little bit that region, in that a lot of sort of new business is done through trust by association, right? In other words, if a company that I trust, for example, in Korea, it'd be like LG, if LG, a company that I trust, ends up using a new technology, then I, by association, trust the technology because I trust LG. In Japan, for example, it would be like, okay, like Nomura is a governing council member, right? If Nomura Holdings uses something to do with Hedera, then because I trust Nomura, I trust the technology. So rather than sort of going directly into the wallet or Web3 or even Hedera, the thinking was, at least in my experience, and if I ask my, uncles or moms or even colleagues, their experience all starts with a technology or a company that they initially trust. And that's part of the reason why I actually joined Hedera in the first place, because I was like, okay, like this is the strategy to onboard the next billion users. Let's get trusted enterprises onto the governing council. And just to be clear, Hedera, as we all know, is not about just the big companies. Enterprises can be, 10 people together building a use case, right? Or five people sort of in a decentralized way putting together something. It's more, and I mean enterprising individuals as an enterprise, just to kind of clarify that. Now, given that, what we set out to do in Blade was, okay, why don't we first focus on the friction points of enterprises, whether it is governing council members or whether it's 5 developers. And we identified a few of these friction points. And the biggest friction point was onboarding. The user onboarding journey to onboard the individual is so painful for the user. And of course, if it's painful for the user, it's painful for the enterprise. It's a lot of risk because an enterprise might launch a use case. And because the user journey is so clunky and the user has no idea, they might not get any traction. So they're not willing to bank their reputation on launching use cases. So from day one, we were like, okay, how do we make this user onboarding for the use case or enterprise's users as easy and seamless as possible? So we at Blade have a B2B component, which is basically we speak to enterprises and we essentially create bespoke user journeys. There's going to be some videos I'm going to show a bit later about what exactly these user journeys are. But for example, there was a use case. They were like, well, we're having an event. We want people to scan a QR code, wallet automatically downloaded, NFT automatically transferred, and then the NFT can be used to access certain events. Can you create that? So we provide them a user journey. We kind of call it user journey as a service. So that's the B2B angle, and that's our way of onboarding the next billion users. You know, Hedera has 1.2 million accounts. We think it's way too small for the ecosystem to thrive. But once these exciting use cases start coming online this year and next year, we're going to see a whole influx, as May mentioned, of TPS, of accounts, of much more activity. The other angle, of course, is the B2C angle, right? We have a B2B enabler, which is a console that enables people to provide user journeys to their users. And then ultimately the users will use the wallet itself. Now, we have been focused on the B2B integration side, and we are now more working on the B2C sort of wallet features. So yesterday, actually, we finally released the, like May mentioned, the secure trade. It's our version of the secure trade, fiat to NFT peer-to-peer trading. Things like token gating, things like staking, NFT gallery, and so on and so forth. Because of course, at the end of the day, onboarding is the first step, and then you have the user actually using the other dApps and sort of use cases on the wallet itself. So kind of see it as, a progression of bringing people who are sort of my mom down the journey onto Web3, and then use a bit of the wallet. And then, of course, the ecosystem has other dApps. They have, of course, May's wallet, some other wallets out there, whether you want to use another wallet because they have the features you like. I personally think, and our team also believes, that, the more offerings there are for the retail customer, the more this ecosystem will thrive.
I think you're absolutely right on that point. Users come into Web3 to do things, and they're here to take advantage of interesting use cases. And, wallets are just here to facilitate that. And Hashpack and Blade are here talking to you today, but there's lots of wallets in the Hedera ecosystem. We've got OGs like Walla Wallet, Atomic Wallet, Venly, who have been around for a long time. LG, you just mentioned, like if LG has a use case on the platform, you trust them more. Well, LG just launched their Wallipto wallet that is integrated with Hedera, and they have their own special NFT marketplace that is integrated with Wallipto. So that is something that's really cool that, an actual huge enterprise is building on Hedera. And then there's some more indie kind of wallets that are coming out and trying to make a splash, such as Kabila and Kizuna. And we're just going to see more and more interest coming into the Hedera space. Actually, I heard on the Vine the other day that Trust Wallet might be actually building on Hedera right away. So, the wallet space is a heated one, and it's very much about enabling our users to access all of the things that are being built on the platform. And that's where we're going to really see Hedera shine. I think that Hedera is easily one of the most accessible platforms, both from a user perspective and a developer perspective. It's very easy to build on. And, with wallets like Hashpack and Blade and the other ones that are coming out, we're going to see that it's going to be easier and easier to do things on Hedera. So I think that Sammy said it absolutely right, that the use cases are key, and then making that onboarding experience as easy as possible will just make it smooth as butter.
Yeah. One thing, if I may add, just based on our experience, wallet is not a use case in itself. Was sort of what people used to tell me. So it's kind of like an afterthought, right? It's like, well, it's a wallet, right? Really, the focus is on the use case, but you cannot launch without a wallet. Like that is the sort of key management. So it's one of those things where sometimes we get a call and we're like, we want to launch in 2 weeks and we need a wallet. Yeah. So it's like, well, actually, maybe that's one of the first things that, because it's the user journey, it's the touch point of your users. let's try to think about the sort of wallet experience or how you integrate the wallet into your use case more. So, I would urge actually the people watching this, if you're going to launch use cases, some of those discussions to start earlier, because you can't launch without a wallet. So it's very, very important. And at the same time, the partnership you have with the wallet is also key because, you kind of thrive together, right? A win for a use case is a win for the wallet. You can't have one without the other, so to speak. So the incentives are really, really aligned to work closely together with whichever team, whichever wallet, or it could be multiple. There are use cases that work with Hashpack and Blade at the same time for different reasons. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Great points all around. I think it's also so dependent. We talked about use cases, which we should dive into a little bit more here, but so dependent on the types of use cases and the type of application environments that are being created from what I've seen. So you have more sort of walled garden type applications where a wallet needs to be incorporated into that very specifically. And there's even sometimes specific functionality for a wallet to play very closely to that application. And then you've got these permissionless dApps that exist out in the world where, you have something like a Wallet Connect, where it just kind of lets anybody who's got a wallet already just play with that application. The application provider doesn't have to think too much about the wallet partnership itself. And then the end user can just come with the existing wallet that they have. And so it's really interesting to watch how that's going to play out over time. And with the idea of enterprise use cases, sort of those applications, what they might look like in the future, how people are going to come. Are they going to bring their own wallet? Are they going to sign up with one inside the application? So it's exciting. But to that point, really curious about use cases. You guys talked a little bit about those. Diving deeper into that, what does that look like? What are you seeing on the front lines? What are you seeing into the future? May, why don't you go first?
I'll take that on because I'm really, really keen on keeping track of what's being done on Hedera and how we're growing. And, if you've listened to me talk on any of our previous podcasts, I'm always talking about how much Hedera has grown over the past year. And earlier in the summer, I was saying that we were kicking off, and I would say that that is still the case, that we have kicked off, that we're moving up. We saw a 60% growth in user activity month over month over the past year in Hashpack users. And I think that just reflects the entire ecosystem where we're just seeing crazy growth. So like NFT marketplaces, they started out at the beginning of the year, we had one in January, and then by March, we had 4. And these are marketplaces like Zeus, like HashAxis, and launchpads like Turtle Moon Tools, Hash Tools, NFTier. These places have seen a crazy amount of growth, and we're seeing a big jump in NFT activity and NFT hype on Hedera. So for example, we just had the Hangry Barboons launch on Hedera earlier this month. And we saw 2.5 million HBAR in 24-hour volume on this particular project alone on Zeus Marketplace, which is the main main secondary marketplace on Hedera. And that happened last week. So we are seeing crazy amount of growth. To even go back a step, there was the Dead Pixels launch in September. That was the biggest launch that we'd ever seen on Hedera. And that one was, I can't remember the numbers now, but the Hangry Barboons launch was 4 times the volume of the Dead Pixel launch, and that was a month later. So crazy amount of growth. Earthlings is a gaming project on Hedera. They're trying to build a sort of a cross between a 3D RPG MMO kind of thing and metaverse. And they have launched a bunch of founder cards and a bunch of airships and bikes and stuff like that. And they saw a 10 times trade volume increase in October from secondary sales. So they're doing like $250,000 in US dollars on their project alone. And they are getting really close to launching some like sneak previews of gameplay and things like that. So I think that they're one of the hottest things in the space right now. And there are other games that are coming out on Hedera as well that I just have a little bit of knowledge on, but I can't spoil the beans for those projects. But there's some really cool things being built in the gaming space as well. So that's NFTs, that's gaming. If we talk about DEXs and tokens on Hedera, SaucerSwap launched at the beginning of August, and they saw a crazy amount of activity. Right now, there's $17 million US locked in SaucerSwap. That's after 3 months of being live, with $50 million US dollars in total trade volume. There's also Stata Labs, which is liquid staking on Hedera, and they have $84 million locked into their contracts. So that's a lot of money for a ecosystem that just launched at the beginning of the year in a bear market. So I would say that Hedera is really kicking off. We're really starting to see all of the typical DeFi and NFT use cases come out that you see on other chains such as Ethereum, Solana, Algorand. And we're also seeing creators from those networks come onto Hedera and try us out and say, wow, that was easy. Wow, it's so much faster here. It's so much more reliable. And it's just fun. And I think, use cases aside, because we've got so many launching every week, every month, that I could go on for calls after call, which I kind of do, in Twitter Spaces every week. And these Twitter Spaces are run by the community. So aside from use cases, I would say that the Hedera community is one of the huge reasons why we're seeing success. We've got a really active and a really fun community that is welcoming, and that is both on the user side and the developer side. So everyone that comes into the space, I think, gets a warm welcome, gets some support, gets introduced to the people that they need to be introduced to make their journeys as easy as possible. So that's where I see us right now in terms of the ecosystem use cases and that.
Wonderful. And all of those being, you cited a number of applications and use cases where both Blade and Hashpack are that primary entry point. Everyone gets their Blade and Hashpack. They go and purchase cryptocurrency on whatever provider they'd like, hopefully on SaucerSwap or one of the other DEXs too that are available. And they're able to connect into all of those different applications. And it's been really cool to see. Sammy, do you have more use cases that you could cite, or things that are focused on enterprise also? I'd be super curious to learn about.
No, for sure. So, because it's easier to explain through some short videos, if you don't mind, I'm just going to share my screen. The video will speak a lot better than I do. So there we go. I mean, just to give the listeners an idea of how we sort of approach the market, we kind of internally cut it into 3 different segments, because each segment is a different BD strategy for each segment. So we have 3 essentially engines, so to speak. Right? We have first we call it blade drops, which are small to medium size, let's say MAUs, more community focus, more sort of lower touch BD. They just have a very specific need that they need to fulfill. Things like campaigns, things like you go into an event and you want to have an NFT drop. Fashion Institute of Technology recently did an onboarding comparison between MetaMask and Blade. And that's, a student, when they go to class, they scan the QR code and they get a proof of attendance NFT. So these are kind of, lower touch. You go into a console yourself and then you launch whatever campaign you want to launch. And then we have more sort of Hedera ecosystem enterprises, right? These are the enterprises that might have been funded by the HBAR Foundation. They might be building on their own, but these enterprises generally need a very, well, I would say varying degrees of customization in user journeys. So, they require more of a BD effort because there's more discovery calls. We're trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with token association? What are we going to do with account creation? After account creation, do you want to send some loyalty cards into the wallets? Do you want to KYC? Don't you want to KYC? So there's token design and there's token minting and there's token distribution, all of those conversations that are specific to each of these use cases because, they're different. Their users are different. 1-11 is a game company in India, right? Mio is one of the biggest, fashion technology providers in the world. Karate Combat is a huge MMA sort of DAO game. And Nada is a very, very successful play-to-earn game in Korea, for example. Then we have sort of Hedera governing council types. This is not just governing council, but they are, as we know, quite long cycle, a lot of documentation, a lot of sort of POCs, and you slowly move towards, okay, let's go to launch. I truly believe these ones, for example, you have Avery Dennison coming up with an amazing use case. ServiceNow is working a lot. Coupon Bureau, although not a governing council member, they have billions and billions of coupons that are currently being already using the Hedera consensus service. So we're talking not 1 million or 2 million. We're talking 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, 100 million users that can be onboarded into Hedera with these type of launches. Now, for the first segment, we have a console that's going to launch. It's really a simple console. You go to the console, you sign up. There's a short wizard. And then it's basically self-serve, right? You enter your campaign name, campaign description, and you can see here, this is the complexity that we're basically hiding, right? Do you want to pay for token association? Do you want a user to pay for it? Do you want us to pay for it? Right? Which wallet do you want the token association to be paid by? We have things we call dapp codes, which allow us to customize the journey based on the use case. And then, we want people to launch multiple campaigns, right? It's a proof of appearance campaign. Maybe there's an NFT drop campaign. Maybe there's another one. And so you can manage ultimately the campaigns on said dashboard. So this is for the first segment, self-serve. Let's go and create a lot of buzz, right? Let's go and create a lot of campaigns for very, very easy, simple touch. And people don't really need to know anything about Hedera, anything about Web3. Well, maybe a little bit about Web3, but you come on here and launch these use cases. Some of the other user journeys, this is more of a generic one because we're working this user journey with a few use cases. This is fiat credit card to NFT purchase. So I'm just going to play the user journey. The background, this can be any NFT marketplace. It can be a use case that already has a website. So think a website, and you're basically putting a button here, purchase NFT with Blade. So the user clicks on the button. You download the browser add-in, which manages the key. You set up the wallet. And then it immediately goes to the payment integrator. Now here we have Banksa. Of course, MoonPay is also integrated with HBARs. There's some others that we're talking to. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Banksa, but currently we're working quite closely with this partner. You pay for the NFT, in this case it's $5. The transaction is complete and you have the NFT in your wallet. So this is for an enterprise, which is like, okay, we don't want to really deal with this sort of USDC and this and on, just, credit card and NFT. That's all we want. Give us your button. This is a use case that we did for Toko, which is a DLA Pipers use case. You go to the event, scan the QR code, your wallet is installed. You set up the wallet, you choose the language. We have 10 languages. And then the NFT is basically automatically dropped into your wallet. Again, it's very customized, right? It's like, it's not a generic thing. It's specifically, they want this token to be dropped in this wallet at this event. So there's more BD work. This is another loyalty card. So this is a use case that wants to issue loyalty cards, and HTS is fantastic in certain features such as, you know, being able to token gate, for example, or create soulbound tokens. So the idea is the same, right? You, after a link, you set up the wallet and you can drop either loyalty cards, you can drop NFTs. And in this case, this is what we're actually quite excited about, is we're currently working on a KYC token being dropped into your wallet. Now, this is an example of somebody proving that he's over 18, because certain games only allow over 18s to play the game. So what we're saying is, as part of the setup process, you go to a third-party KYC vendor, you do your KYC with that third-party vendor, and that third-party vendor will let us know if this specific user is over 18 or not. And this token is ultimately used as proof that he's over 18, and it token gates the use case. Some of the use cases that are going to launch soon, just want to play a video. So again, this user journey, there's no blade here. As you can see, there is no blade download. We have basically built the functionality of a Hedera wallet within the app, again, because that's what they want for their users. And by and large, a game, you need to have people within the wallet, within the app, and not move back and forth. So very, very exciting use case. Another use case, which is in the fashion space. So this, by the way, is not a real person, obviously. It's an avatar, but digital twins, right? Fashion use cases, digital twin. You buy a fashion, you buy a real garment, QR code, and a digital twin is in your wallet, right? A few other use cases, 3 million users this use case has. You onboard onto the game. And then the first thing is, well, here you go, download the Blade wallet to unlock certain features within the game. And then once this is done, again, we want to showcase the use case, wallet being in the background that enables the use case, so to speak. So after this is done, it's linked, and then you go on and do what you were here for to use the use case itself. A few others. Qualified Club, they're launching a game. We partnered up with them. We're coming up with some unique ways to enable some of those use cases as well. So super exciting time. I think Hedera is going to see a lot of very, very exciting use cases in all tiers coming on board very, very soon. So super excited to be in the right place at the right time, I would say.
No doubt. It's a lot of exciting stuff that's coming down the line. Some of those applications were fantastic. It's everything from gaming to metaverse to NFTs to more of the native Web3 DeFi type applications. That's really great to see. When we talk about applications and these various use cases, a big part of it is developers wanting to ensure that they can easily integrate. You both showed or touched on the idea of that integration. Can we talk a little bit about maybe the standards that exist in the ecosystem today, what the future holds for that integration between dapp and wallet, and then in addition to that, sort of what the next billion customers might look like through those various integrations?
Yeah. One comes to standards, I think that we have a really great set of developers that are working towards making it as easy to develop on the network as possible. One really important standard that came out on Hedera was HIP 412, which is the NFT metadata standard. This is one that I headed with the community, and we basically went and wrote a metadata standard for all of NFTs on Hedera that was also cross-compatible with other ecosystems such as Ethereum NFTs. And when we put out this, well, before we put out this standard, NFTs were kind of doing things their own way. And if you were launching on a specific marketplace, then your NFTs would only work on that marketplace. And then wallets would have to integrate multiple marketplace standards in order to view them. And it was just a mess. So we built this standard, released it, and got the entire ecosystem to hop on board. And so now every NFT that launches on Hedera is now able to work on every single wallet and every single marketplace. And I really see that this kind of development is what we want to achieve as an ecosystem, to make it as easy as possible for developers to build on Hedera and for us to go for it and make things as frictionless as possible. So one of the things that Sammy and I were actually talking about in a call prior to this was a standardized wallet connect library, where we can basically have a way for all the dApps to connect to every wallet on Hedera in a sort of a open sourced library kind of way, where the wallets integrate with that library and then the dApps integrate with it, and then everyone is able to use whichever wallet they want to with all of the dApps, right? I think that would be a really cool standard that we could build.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to point out that, Hashback has absolutely been the leader in terms of the thought leadership and, bringing together these standards. HIP 412 we use, of course. I mean, Hash Connect we don't use, but, the ecosystem has been enabled by Hash Connect, makes it easy for, a lot of dApps to very, very easily connect to the wallet. Now, as May mentioned, the idea is, how do we improve this, right? How do we continue on this path in order to make it easy for these dApps? Because these dApps are, dApps or use cases are just busy doing their own go-to-market. They're busy building in features, right? Now, if they spend 3 weeks integrating with one wallet, another 3 weeks integrating with another wallet, and they have different standards, then it takes away from their own sort of their own go-to-market needs. So absolutely, there's the Hash Connect standard that currently exists. We are working on the Ethereum Wallet Connect, sort of open source Wallet Connect that we have. Ultimately, if we can come together and come up with a standard which developers are aware of, you can use the Ethereum Wallet Connect. We open source it. And for dApps, it's as easy to integrate with any wallet and provide it to their users, right? That's the goal for, I would say, dApp connections. Now, just one final point in terms of, so there's generic connectors where NFT marketplaces and dApps and DEXs and so on and so forth, but also some of the integrations that we're working on. For example, we're working on a C++ Unreal Engine integration. And so once we get to a certain point, even those can potentially be open source, because not necessarily does a game want to be reliant on one team, one wallet, right? We want to be able to create an ecosystem where it's going, right? It's going, whether Lehman's here or Mance is here or other people are here or not, Hedera is going, right? Hedera is decentralized operationally. So now we're building out the second layer of Hedera. And at some point, whether it's a year or 2 or 3 down the road, we will also probably benefit from removing ourselves, myself and May and other individuals, so that the use cases go on even without, certain individuals or certain teams. And I think that is the promise ultimately of sort of decentralization, right? No single point of failure. Now, whether that can be done today or next week or the following year is another thing. But I think that path is something that is very unique and special about this space in general.
And if we're talking about connecting dApps to wallets at the moment, there is a HIP that would be relevant to developers called HIP 338, which is for signature and wallet providers. And this is a pattern that exists on Ethereum. So Ethereum developers would be very familiar with this. And it is live today. So both, I think, Blade and Hashpack implement HIP 338. So that's a standardized way that you can use both wallets today. And this Wallet Connect library that we're talking about would just make it even easier for dApps to move into the space, right? I think that there's a lot of potential around the idea of decentralized communities and enabling those. I think that there's things that we can build out in terms of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, where you can have voting and decentralized topics and all of those sort of things that we can enable with the wallets and with building standards that enable those use cases to be distributed so that you don't have to go to one website in order to vote. You can go to multiple websites and they can all read the same topic and you can vote with them on whichever wallet or whichever dApp that you want and you vote on the same thing, right? So it's kind of like if you wanted to vote for like the president in the next election, you wouldn't have to go to a US government-run voting booth. You could just go to a voting booth that's run off of that back end, but you access it through a front end that's run by someone maybe that you trust more, or that you like their user interface more, or something like that, right? So standards are really our way of making the space more accessible, and I think that there's a lot that we can do as a community on all sides. So, you know, even the users that are using the wallets and using the dApps, their feedback is super important. And so we're just very lucky to have such a vibrant and active community here.
I love that. And you know, two things that I see that I want to kind of call out is, you know, the both contributions to and citing of the Hedera improvement proposals and that process that's in place for the community to take part in building the network. That's really what it is. The community is out there. They're building the network. You know, I know some of the core engineers at Lumos Labs, they're also following that same Hedera improvement proposals process. To Sammy's point, it is becoming truly very decentralized. You don't need one individual, even at this point in many cases, to allow the network to continue to take flight. And then the other thing is, you know, seeing two of the biggest ecosystem wallet providers, being Blade and Hashpack, kind of jumping on together here, being collaborative, figuring out the best ways to work together, all in the best interest of the ecosystem, defines Hedera. I mean, all of the developers and the applications and the folks in the community that I talk to, that is the sort of ethos of this network. It's everyone collaborating. And so it's such a wonderful thing to see. So just had to call that out, I think, as you guys had mentioned this.
Yeah, it's super important. It's something that, you know, everyone talks about tribalism in crypto and how it's detrimental to the space because you have people who are siloed into their projects that they like, and then they FUD other projects and they hype up theirs and they ignore the problems of their own project, or, you know, downplay it. And I think Hedera developers and the Hedera community is very open to critiquing what we are eating. We're gourmands, and at the same time we're critics, and we work very well together. And I think that if we can, as a community, collaborate together, and, you know, we're all trying to grow in this space, and though we're not going to benefit from biting off each other's legs in order to try to get a one up on each other, right? If the Hedera ecosystem blooms, then everybody benefits. So I think that I think that that kind of community is a very fun community to grow in, to build in, and that's the kind of people that are here on Hedera. So I think that is one of the attractive things about building on this platform and working with the people that are here, is that everybody's open, everybody's willing to be criticized and to, argue back their points, and then together we come to a consensus and move forward to a better future. It's real fun.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
I mean, one point for me is one unique thing that I see also about Hedera is the number of unique skill sets that exist within the community, right? We're not just talking sort of Web3 developers. We have people from the enterprise. We have people, Manson Lehman, the founders, have a different background. I have a different background. May has a different background. We have people from different places coming together to build a solution that changes real lives. And, there are ecosystems that might be geared towards solving specific problems within the Web3, but I do see Hedera as an ecosystem that is very, very well placed to solve the biggest problems, the biggest friction points, the biggest problems that the world is facing, and uniquely placed because of the people that exist, within the ecosystem. So of course there's technology and, there's the integrations and this and that. But at the end of the day, the fact that we can come together on a call like this, right? And talk about this stuff and leverage off of each people's connections and strong points and whatnot is going to be in the benefit of everybody.
And it really pays homage to the idea that, even though, I'd argue the technology is some of the best technology, it is not the best technology that always wins. A lot of times it's everything else that's happening in the peripheral, in the background, from the experience of developers to the way that the community is able to come together and collaborate and work. And so I do see a lot of that, a lot of what you're saying in the Hedera community. It's really great. So to close out, a final question for both of you. When it comes to features that you are most excited about for your individual projects, what would you say is most exciting there? And then what's one piece of advice that you would give to a developer who's looking to get integrated into the Hedera ecosystem?
Sure. For Hashpack, the things that we're most excited about, the iOS app is launching soon. We're really working hard on that. So then we'll have both Android and iOS apps in place. Although there is a little bit of stickiness around NFTs and the App Store that iOS has just released. So they're not making it easy for Web3, but we're going to navigate that as best we can. We've got a lot of things in store for usability, for the user experience, for the onboarding experience. Sammy pointed out a lot of great points, and these are things that we really want to address too at Hashpack. And so hopefully in the new year, you'll see a bunch of cool things come out from us. And then from there, we want to start building out the verticals that we think are really exciting on Hedera. Namely, I think gaming and retail and NFTs, I think those are huge. And we really want to make Hedera known as the NFT platform and the DeFi platform and the gaming platform for Web3. So those are things that my team is really looking forward to build features for, to make things as easy as possible for users and for developers. Anything that we can do to make the user experience easier, that's what we want to do. In terms of for developers who are coming onto Hedera and how they can get involved and how they can, ease their way into things, I think that there's a few things that you can do. First, I think start following people on Twitter. Twitter is a very active community and a very good way to get a heartbeat on what's going on in Hedera and hear what's being built. And if you know what's being built on Hedera, then you can see the projects that are similar to yours and start learning from them. And like I said, everybody on Hedera is really open and really inviting, welcoming. So, just reaching out to those people, those influencers, those projects, and talking to them will really help you out. There's also the official Hedera Discord that offers technical support for developers, and they have a whole team that is excellent. There's the HBAR Foundation, who have a lot of connections and can give you the lay of the land. There's Hashpack and Blade as well, our Discords, where you can come in and talk to our developers. And if you need specific help with integrating with our wallet or seeing what we have to offer your company, like that is something that we are happy to do. And yeah, just get involved in the community, because you'll really see how wonderful it is to develop on Hedera really fast. Just reach out.
We're most excited about the launch of the Blade Launchpad before the end of the year. Specifically, people using the Launchpad to launch utility NFTs. Because, we think NFTs are much more than just GIFs. And especially with Hedera and HTS, you can add a lot of functionality to NFTs. Specifically, the loyalty card issuance, because it involves onboarding of your user. It involves potentially a payment for the NFT, or it could be for free. It involves the transfer of the NFT into the user's wallet. And then it also involves token gating. Token gating is something that I think will unlock a lot of value for a lot of enterprises, because it's sort of an open way of being involved in communities, right? I know Vitalik put out a paper on soulbound tokens about sort of Web3 communities. When we started on this journey, we saw NFTs as more a Web3 credential, Web3 open badges. So we're very excited about the Launchpad, for developers to just go and just try launching a loyalty card into your 100, 200, 300 sort of test case or focus group, and see how it works. Now, in terms of the one advice, I don't know if the question was advice, but in terms of one suggestion I would like to make to developers, is the same suggestion that I make on every discovery call, BD discovery call that I'm at least on, is we would suggest first working on the user journey from the user in mind. So in other words, backwards. And what we do internally is we create a Figma and we create a demo video before we have done anything. To be like, okay, what is this user journey? What do we want your user, the developer's customer, to experience? And once we have an idea of that, then potentially go out and find the tools that enable that user journey. Because, a lot of times there's analysis paralysis. There's like, okay, let's start talking to people. What do we do about the funding, and so on and so forth? But at the end of the day, if you have a powerful Figma or a powerful video or a powerful demo, you can get on a call and be like, look, we want to create this. Go to Swirls Labs, come to us, go to Hashpack, and show them the video and be like, hey, can you do this? How can you help us achieve this user journey? And that tends to be a lot easier for us to sort of guide people on things that they can and can't do, right? Honestly speaking, is this next year? Is this now? Can we do it today? And when can you launch? Realistically, is it a 1 month thing or is it a 1 year thing? Because there's certain things the ecosystem still needs to work on, for example, payment gateways and some of the other things. So that would be something that I would personally suggest, is let's start with the user journey and user, in mind.
Wonderful. I love it. And can't echo that sentiment more enough. It's the most important thing to start with the user journey, especially in Web3, where so much of the challenge, I think, comes around with UI UX, which I think both of your projects have done an amazing job overcoming some of the complexities that you see in other wallets and different ecosystems, both incredibly easy to use. Can't thank you guys enough for joining us for Ecosystem Week, for this discussion about wallets and standards and all of the exciting use cases and applications. You both mentioned a bunch of resources as well throughout this discussion, and we're going to make sure for everybody to link all of that below. how to get started with Hashpack and Blade, links to the integrations for ensuring that their dapp abides by the HIP standard for integrations and the SDKs that you offer. So very thankful. Appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Dana Farbo. I work for a company called NexBloc, and we're creating a pretty special project that HBAR Foundation sponsored and gave us a grant for. It's all around top-level domain clearing. We actually believe that in the Web3 space, we have a scenario where there's going to be a lot of collision and collusion, or not collusion, but confusion in the marketplace with multiple identical top-level domains. So what we're going to do today is walk you through some of the rationale, some of the technology used. We'll do a quick demo, and then we'll talk about the tech and some of the challenges that we faced. Okay? So the problem that we see in the decentralized DNS space is that there are a lot of players. You probably have heard a number of names out there, and it's very fragmented. So there are no real rules. So when we think about the centralized ICANN DNS space, there is a central authority and there's a lot of rules. Here we don't have the rules, which is one of the benefits of being decentralized, right? But it does come with some issues. Some of those shown here, we've got a lot of providers on numerous chains and DLTs that aren't talking to each other. There's no central authority or association right now. There's some attempts at creating some. And alliances are being developed really without a pathway to inclusion for other industry participants. And our belief is that without inclusion, and that also includes the Web 2 space, the non-DNS providers, without inclusion, we're going to have a lot of chaos in the future, especially when it comes to websites, decentralized websites that might be named the same name, but they've got two different blockchains they're running on with two different DNS providers. So we're really looking at sort of getting out in front of the chaos and helping solve some of this problem. So as I mentioned, the infrastructure of Web3 does require cooperation. So when we look at Web 2, I think we're all familiar with the .coms, the .ios, .orgs, all managed by ICANN, the International Corporation for Numbers and Names. So you've got ICANN, who basically sets a lot of the rules through their policies, but you've got other players out there like OpenNIC. You got the registries like GoDaddy, a lot of registries out there, right? You've got the world IP organizations, intellectual property. You've got the International Trademark Association, all these interrelated companies that feed up to ICANN for how they use domains and naming. But in our case, in the Web3 world, it's more the Wild West, right? So you've got all of us out there, Unstoppable Domains, ENS, Handshake, DecentraWeb, NexBloc, and a growing list of providers that haven't yet come to that sort of alliance. There is a Web3 domain alliance that was announced. We're offering a way to either support that or another alliance or create our own movement towards sort of an industry consortium, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, as I mentioned, DNS and domain names in the Web2 world, easy to manage. Not easy, but again, it's managed. On the Web3 world, if you look in the marketplace, you'll see multiple providers of a .web3 top-level domain, right? You've got instances where lawsuits are happening around .coin, .wallet, and other domain names or top-level domain names that multiple players try to put in the marketplace. So our first role is to really create a tool, and yet we may be looking at more than just a tool, but at the front side, it's a tool to allow the DNS providers to put their names in or feed names in so that we can all look at who's already registered those names or who has already put a top-level domain as a root contract on a blockchain or on Hedera Hashgraph or wherever, okay? From a top-level flow standpoint, it's not that deep right now, but it does provide a level of ecosystem partners that create in the Hedera HBAR environment a way for us to use all of these services, whether it's the consensus service, smart contract services, the token services, et cetera, to really bring a full 360-degree approach toward registering a top-level domain, querying, looking at it, listing both on-chain and off-chain, but also bringing in the Web2 database environment so that we can have bridges to that information and provide a way to feed that database. I'll have Ved and Bhagya talk a little bit more about this technology as soon as I get done with a quick demo. Okay, but right now, like I mentioned, we've got a Hedera ecosystem usage, Hashpack wallet that we're currently using. We can use others, smart contract services, et cetera. Okay. So let me get into the demo. So as I mentioned, we're not here to create this for our company. We're here to create this for our industry. So if you look at the platform, it's not branded, even though we call it dDNS-DAO. That's just a placeholder name. Could be the final name, maybe not, right? In addition, we've basically kept any names off the initial, but the idea would be the members would start to be put in here. We do have a form, so you'd be able to go into a form and give us feedback and testing, contact, obviously, log in, sign up. So if you're not signed up, it's pretty simple. We come in and sign up. So you would put your name. I've already got connected here with my Hashpack wallet, but the idea would be you need to get a Hashpack wallet, so go get one, right? And we use testnet, so you would need to get some testnet tokens because we're not live on mainnet yet because we want to go through a complete system of review with lots of different people in the review. So the idea here would be let's disconnect and then put Dana 2 or 23, and let's just put Dana 23, connect my wallet. Pulls up the wallet, so I got to do my password. And sign in, right? I'm choosing the DAO testnet. I named it DAO testnet, right? So it'd be basically the testnet, approve it. And now I need to register, final registration. And I've already used that username for some reason, so I'll just log in. And now you see the dashboard, right? So I'll pause a little bit here to see if Ved or Bhagya have any discussion around the dashboard. But as I mentioned, there are multiple components that have yet to be built out. One of the ideas being that as we develop foundation members, then we would have the foundation members contribute to the policy setting of how the final domains would be approved, etc. So, that or Bhagya,
Yes. So, couple of things that need to be added here. Apart from the some UI UX customization, the feature wise, what we are going to introduce is like the dashboard for the DAO members. So where DAO member will be able to vote for the TLDs, like for acceptance or community voting kind of thing. That UI that feature will be introduced in the next release. And apart from that, we will be putting some customization in terms of making it look better.
Ved, can you share, or Bhagya, can you share the flow from going from a new TLD to the request? As I do the search, can you actually share the flow where the database hits are?
So do you want to explain it verbally, or you want to show it some other way?
If you can explain it verbally, that'd be great.
Yes. So how it okay, let me start with how it works. So basically, when you search we, as you know, we have let's say as a TLD owner, you come to our website, do the registration and come back to the login page. After login, what happens? You start for the TLD search to check if that TLD is already minted or available for minting purpose exactly. And as soon as you start searching, it shows you the status of availability, and if it is available, then you proceed further with the submission of the TLD. So you enter the TLD name, the chain ID it has been deployed to, and some other smart contract address, and as soon as you deploy, it get added to the smart contract as well as to the database, so that next time it is available for everyone to have a look.
Share the database
on the
we
same
chose.
flow itself.
Why don't you share some of the challenges you face on integrating the database with the smart contract,
the first thing
Okay. So
that we
Bhagya,
are
can you introduce
doing is
that, the
the
Proven
backend
DB
side
and
the thing.
other solution
When
that we have tried?
a smart contract function gets hit through the front end, then the data is cached by our backend, and that data that is cached is stored in the database. So first we tried to use Proven DB, but Proven DB is not like very like popular, and also not very stable, because what was happening, it was continuously getting suspended, maybe because we were initially using their free tier, but then we switched to MongoDB, and now MongoDB is working perfectly. And what I feel is we were not using Proven DB for the versioning part of the things. So it does not matter if we use Proven DB or MongoDB. So currently we are using MongoDB and it is working fine.
What we were using it for, the intention was not necessarily solving anything for us, right? So because
Right.
the Mongo database was integrated. Yeah.
And one thing, Dana, Proven DB itself is a MongoDB engine.
Yeah. So rather than try to layer in a layer on top of the layer, we went right to the Mongo side. And I think what the benefit there is, again, as I mentioned, having both on-chain and off-chain, right? Your ability to integrate the Web 2 into off-chain pretty seamlessly, and then write scripts and smart contracts that could pull from that as well. Or because at some point, we, as this screen implies, we are asking people to register a top-level domain, and then they'll stake an amount of HBAR to get that into the system and on chain, or I should say on chain, but on hashgraph, right? So we, in many cases, if it's an ICANN and we want an all-encompassing database of top-level domains, we're probably not going to charge them to include it. We'll just feed it in, right? So it's an awareness position. All right. So let me go ahead and proceed. And again, there's review screens. Again, I need to approve. So here I would HA. Unlock, execute smart contracts done. So now what I've got is I've put the TLD in queue. Okay. So what we should see is we'll see once it populates in queue, we'll see the domain name hit the new request version, and then it'll go through the process as we talked about with consensus around policy to actually approve it. That would be the final action, okay, by the DAO.
Exactly. Perfect.
Now, what we're also looking to do is create a way for people to feed this new DTL or this search environment into any number of applications. So if we had like other providers and you wanted to, do a search or a who is or a lookup, you'd be able to look that up, who has that particular top level domain registered in system. So you could provide that API pull into just about any application out there. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so with us, and let me finish by just saying, what we found is that I'm going to play from the current slide here, is that the next steps for us is really this consortium building. We have the tool in place to be able to showcase, bring consortium players into the system, and then start to develop policy, because it's the policy that's really going to drive what the future is for us to be able to use these tools beneficially. Also policy for fees, right? If there's another revenue stream, maybe it's not a licensing, but a way for members to come in and bring HBAR and stake HBAR in to be a member rather than pay for each inclusion. There's any number of ways that we can look at fees. Okay. And thank you. That's our program, our platform, our project for the grant. We appreciate HBAR Foundation and looking forward to next steps.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Nate, and I'm the head of Web3 at PyPhi, and today we're talking about our product hashgraph.name for Hedera Ecosystem Development Week. Our team is committed to making hashgraph.name the highest quality DNS infrastructure on any DLT and the focal point for resource resolution on every DLT. State of the name. So we have been live with hashgraph.name for a few months now. And we have seen extraordinary success and support by the community. We have 15,000 plus names minted so far, which represents over 90% of all minted names on Hedera. And we have over 1,000 unique community members who are engaging with us all the time. We've been super stoked to sort of release this product and interact with the community and make it better as a team, as a large community team. The value of domain names. So it's really important for me to start with the value proposition of domain names because we have the existing precedent of Web2 DNS, and we also have existing precedent now for Web3 DNS. We know that Web2 DNS is very centered around centralized ownership and resolving of computational resources and deployed applications. And we know that Web3, the existing Web3 solutions, because of pain points that Hedera has improved on, are at this point mostly used as like decentralized profile data. I think that both of these paradigms have important value propositions that we can take from. But if we really strip the value of domain names down to the roots, we can find that at the heart of it is resolution itself. Whether you're accustomed to Web2 DNS or Web3 domain as username functionality, the real value proposition of domains in general is to ease the process of getting digital resources that people need while abstracting the complex parts out of the process. I think this is really important because we want this system to be composable and flexible, so that it really is just resolving a wide variety of digital resources, and people can build on top of it and use it however they want, not just in all of the traditional paradigms that we sort of have in our experience to use, but all of the new ones that can be better than anything we've had before. Tradition. So Web2 has brought our global community to where it is today, but we have room to improve on long assumed definitions of ownership over digital abstractions. Web3 infrastructure can strike a new balance that brings the best incentivizations of ownership while still allowing core infrastructure that shouldn't be monetized to be a public good. We feel strongly about this. So I think that there are some ownership incentives and monetization incentives that can really drive people to create new and interesting things while being rewarded. But also, we can see more toxic elements of ownership and monetization when something that really should be public infrastructure, that should be something that you can't just charge for, or that somebody can't steer, the funds of into their pocket. For situations like that, we really need to make sure that we're balancing the incentives. And then focus. Our focus is to provide high quality infrastructure that has long-term staying power and delivers the needs of the Hedera community today. We know that those needs will grow over time, and we want to grow with them. This is a really important point for me to make because I've already said that, we don't want to overly focus on the assumptions we have based on our experiences with existing Web3 DNS and Web2 DNS, but also we don't want to overly speculate at what we think we know these services are going to be used for in the future. And so we want to focus on the value that we can provide the community now, and the value that the community wants, and work with the community to continually improve that, and then provide new value propositions that the community comes to us with a need for. The team at PyPhi has worked to provide both a high-quality dapp and community infrastructure that builds trust with the people who use it. Extensive trial and error and a thorough auditing process has produced a system that is scalable and can meet our needs today and tomorrow. So scalable. Decentralization is always at the top of our list. Our system relies on a completely on-chain, dynamically expandable system of contracts. The role our hosted servers play is as minimal as possible. This was really important to us. So as is always the case in software, there's an infinite number of ways that we could have implemented this. But I as a builder and my team find the value proposition of deployed immutable logic extremely important. And so we wanted to get as much into contracts, aka deployed immutable logic, as possible. We want to make sure that we put as much on chain and as much in the hands of community members as far as ownership goes as possible. And so we try to make our hosted infrastructure very light. We try to put as much as we can into the front end that we deliver to you and into the contracts, so that we aren't just saying we're decentralized and acting as an overly centralized authority from a practical perspective. Trustworthy. The PyPhi team has led the delivery of community architecture that allows for a single standardized repository of domain names for any number of DNS providers in the ecosystem. We have also delivered a single SDK that allows the entire Hedera community to resolve names with one tool. So this gets into something I'd like to touch on in a little bit, but we obviously have delivered a decentralized application. But it was important for us to separate that from sort of the community infrastructure layer. We know that there are other people who might want to use DNS-like services and who might want to deliver the value of domain resolution in different and interesting ways. Maybe things that provide other separate communities with a different value proposition, and it just makes sense to have different decentralized applications doing that. We wanted to make sure that was possible, and our team led the charge to deliver not only on-chain Hedera consensus service-based solutions for an authentic repository of names, but also a single SDK that any platform, any community member in Hedera or outside of Hedera that wants to resolve Hedera domains can use easily. And a big thanks to Hashpack for helping us with that. They've been incredible. And composable. Our top level domain, second level domain, and subdomain functionality is agnostic by design. How you define ownership and functionality in your domain is up to you, whether you're an ecosystem project or a multinational company. This goes back to what I said about sort of stripping this down to exactly the value that the community wants, and delivering that value in composable software architecture where we are not overly defining how things have to be used. We are just providing you with a suite of tools to deliver value in new and interesting ways. The Web3 Domain Alliance. So one of the most exciting things for us to announce in recent weeks as a team is our project hashgraph.name's participation in the Web3 Domain Alliance. So we have been talking with Unstoppable Domains for a while, and we love working with them. We think they have good vision, and we're just excited that despite the fact that they are a large organization, they really want to embrace community, and they want to bring in other community members to hash out how we can standardize things from a data perspective, from a compliance perspective, and how we make these things as Web3 as possible. Which is to say, try to get as much of this stuff in deployed immutable behavior and out of courtrooms as possible. And we will be founding members of the Domain Alliance with not only Unstoppable Domains, but Tezos Domains and several other providers, with a few more on the way. And we're really excited about it. We're really excited to represent Hedera in this effort. The importance of community standards. So I referenced before that we sort of have built this community infrastructure because we want there to be the ability to have multiple DNS providers, but not to have multiple records of DNS infrastructure. And I think it's very good to bifurcate it that way, because I think that we should have a single immutable repository of resource resolution on Hedera. But I think it would be, overly prideful to suggest that hashgraph.name or any other, DNS builder on Hedera is going to have a value proposition that fits everybody and makes, and is the one size fits all, has everything you need platform. I don't think that things like that ever exist, and I think that builders should continue to get out there and innovate and do interesting things. And so, the community standards that we're defining can sort of align with that. DNS has many value propositions, and we think that's great. The infrastructure should be how you get what you need easily, but how you get there should be up to you. We have led the cooperation of multiple ecosystem partners to establish the hashgraph.name protocol, which is the infrastructure upon our platform and all DNS providers on Hedera are built. Keeping ownership with the community. One of the exciting things, and actually the impetus for us originally making hashgraph.name, is that PyPhi also has another upside It's called the Upside DAO, and it is a compliant tokenized DAO infrastructure. The Upside DAO's need for real decentralized pseudonymity and profile data that can be connected to real people is what hashgraph.name was born out of, and is the value proposition we want to continue to lead in the ecosystem. So the hashgraph.name protocol will be DAOified and owned by the community, as well as being a founding community on the Upside DAO, a first of its kind regulatory compliant DAO platform being released on Hedera next month. PyPhi has paved a path forward for the community to find value in this infrastructure, but we believe strongly that this service should ultimately be a public good served by our community for our community. We are really excited to have hashgraph.name interact with the Upside DAO and other applications in the ecosystem in this way. And we want those applications and the people who use those applications to know that they can be, just as a community member, they can be an owner in the protocol too, and they can help grow it and expand it and make it what they want to be through their voice and their work. A little shill for Upside DAO, December 2022. Check it. And then where we're headed. So in the coming weeks and months, we will be delivering turnkey TLDs with some intermediary approval steps, but you will have to do almost no work to create your own customized TLD and deploy it. Decentralized profiles, which I'm especially stoked on. Identity and pseudonymity is a very interesting issue to me. I think it's really important for people to be able to express themselves outwardly online in exactly the way they want to. And through the use and through our expansion of the current use cases of Web3 usernames, we're going to provide users the ability to maintain all of their data and still express themselves in a unified way on any decentralized app that they go to on Hedera. That's our vision for decentralized profiles, and we're incredibly excited about it. Enterprise infrastructure. So this is sort of the flip side of the human side of DNS, the decentralized profiles, the resolution of pseudonymity and identity, and people themselves via wallets. We are already working on ways to expand our infrastructure to cover some of the most needed use cases of enterprise organizations, which typically is more like DNS needs rather than Web3 username needs. We have a great team with decades of experience in software engineering. And we have carefully curated our technical infrastructure to make sure that we can accommodate large-scale organization needs as well as retail community needs. And then the DWeb initiative. So this is to be announced, but we will be involved in another exciting initiative. Whereas the Web3 Domain Alliance is a horizontal initiative with other domain providers, the DWeb initiative will be more vertical with browsers and decentralized storage entities being involved. We are super excited to be working and pushing that forward too. And this is the end of my presentation. The hashgraph.name team is so thankful to the Hedera community for embracing us, for being understanding during the release, most of you anyways, and for really helping us drive quality on the platform. We love working with this community and we can't wait to do it again.
Greetings all. I am, and as well as everyone in my team, is super excited to participate in this Hedera Ecosystem Week. I would like to thank the HBAR Foundation, headed by Shane Higdon, for the wonderful support that they have extended to us. Without the grant that we receive, we will not be able to embark on this mission to provide a good naming system for our community. Shout out to the organizers of this event, especially to the energetic Brady Gentile, who tirelessly coordinated with all the projects in the ecosystem. Ever since we rolled out our sleeves to work on our projects, we have met and collaborated with many wonderful folks in our ecosystem. I can really see and appreciate the depth of talent and creativity in our space, both in arts and in tech. We are indeed in very exciting times. Where else can you see on only in Web3 that you will find our text-based human readable domain names coming alive with art? I've never seen that before since 1999. So this is just a beginning of the things to come as we see the role of naming systems become an integral part of the infrastructure in the incoming worlds that people refer to as the metaverse. So, first, I would like to continue by introducing myself. First, I'm Del Iglesia, and I've been in the IT field 30 some years ago, starting with the legacy. So, I've seen from the pre internet days and then continuing on to Web 1, then to Web 2, and Web 3. I've been working with enterprises as a consultant in developing their systems um, in all aspects: development, coding, you name it, testing. It's from, the whole nine yards. So having some experience from Web 1, I really see that there's a platform that we need in order to establish trust and the minimize the promise of data immutability, which is very important in enterprises. So here we are. I would like to contribute to the Web3 development from my experience and knowledge, and I'm here on Web 2.3.
So first of all, I would like to introduce myself as one of the co-founders of Web 2.3. I have got this exposure of around 15 years of networks and Linux and Unix. Back in the older days, we used to work on email systems, and while doing that, we used to work on domains. And from there, I learned about domains and DNS, and went on to work on that aspect. And somehow we figured out that domains are very very important, which they are. And then this made me and Dell come together and incorporate Web 2.3 last year, and since then we have started this journey. So before we jump into the further discussions and the things which we are trying to unfold and unpack, I would like Gaurav and finally Rahul to introduce themselves, and then we'll take this from that. To you, Rahul. Yeah.
Yes. So, hello guys, and it's been my pleasure to be part of this ecosystem week. And so, to introduce myself, I am Rahul Pandey. I have almost 8 years of experience in IT industry. I have been working with technologies like back-end technologies. I've been working on the front-end technologies, database, and all the stuff for few years. Then I jumped into blockchain, and I'm working into blockchain technologies for last 3 years. And yes, I am the co-founder of this Web 2.3, and I'm here to build some brilliant products and features for the community. Over to you, Gaurav.
Hi everyone, my name is Gaurav. I'm one of the co-founders of Web 2.3. I look at the legal and strategy part of Web 2.3, and it has been almost 3 years since I've been in the Web 3 industry, and I've been working with tech startups for almost 8 years now. And this has been an incredible journey, and I'm really excited to be here.
So thanks, Del, Rahul, and Gaurav. We were fortunate to be blessed by HBAR Foundation, And we were really fortunate to choose Hedera Hashgraph as one of the best ledgers which we have seen in the last few years. And we intend to contribute a lot to the community. And this is a great, energetic, and most importantly, a very, very collaborative and helpful community. So Web 2.3, as the name suggests, was incorporated with the philosophy of bringing the Web 2 and the Web 3 together. Web 3 for many folks is a new thing, and we are still into the Web 2 world. So as and when we unpack the presentation, you will see and appreciate the values of Web 2 and the great potential of Web 3 lying ahead. So the journey so far for the last 3 decades or so, if we can go back to the early days of the internet in 1990, when things were just starting and booting up, people were hooked to the computers, networks were being designed, and then with those in the early days, the IP addresses were used to name and figure out and reach out to the computers. Soon after that, when there was an explosion of IP addresses, people and the geniuses figured out a way to name IP addresses to the domain names, which were essentially the human readable names, to just reach out to your people. So, for example, it's easier to remember the names rather than the phone numbers, or let's say the complex details of a person. So way back when the domain started, it was early internet, and this was started by a central organization called ICANN, and ICANN has been in existence for more than 3 decades.
Even though it's a centralized authority, a lot of times people confuse centralization with structure. But at the end of the day, structures are necessary for efficiency, and there are decentralized structures, and we can take the good part of ICANN, which is already working in the Web2 community, and use and have the same utility in the Web3 space, and build a similar structure with the same agency constructs, and build something great for the community at the infrastructural level. And that is something that we're trying to do.
Though the design is authoritative and centralized in nature, the core technical design of the DNS in general has made us and helped the entire humanity to have all these ecosystems, the e-commerce sites, the companies like Fang, or even when we are recording right now, this has been made possible because of the domain names, which are very simple to name, which are very simple to understand. You can go to far off places in Africa, for example, and even then a person would be able to correlate to, let's say, his website and .com for sure. So domains have been there for last 3 decades, especially helping us and making sure we have gathered enormous values in the last 3 decades. With this point in mind, that domains are very important for us, and especially when the Web3 domains have started. This was started with the Ethereum Foundation a few years back with the naming of ETH.ETH names. We quickly figured out that Hedera Hashgraph as the layer one chain, as one of the layer one chains, has the potential to be there and be existent for next 100 years, create the legacy. So what we figured out here was that since the domains existed for 30 years, would not be best, would not be great if we take the same legacy of the Web2 domains to the Hedera Hashgraph and make sure this is workable and accessible for next 100 years. So we have this intention to convert, or let's say to bring all the Web2 domains to Web3 domains and allow them to have a bridge between the two great assets. As I spoke about, the intention here is to bridge Web 2 and the Web 3 domains. Unfortunately, today the browsers, especially, they don't understand the routes of Web 3. It would be very complex and cumbersome to reach out to any domains. We recently started minting of HBAR names, and without the Chrome extension, sometimes, for the time being, I would say, the domains are not reachable and accessible from the Chrome or the popular browser, for example.
We have something really very nice that we develop in Web 2.3. this is actually the limitation of Web3 domains not accessible in in the browser, right? So what we did was we created a Chrome extension so that anyone who bought or who registered an HBAR domain or that hungry domain or that BHC domain will be able to type it in into the browser, and with our Chrome extension, we'll be able to resolve it to a Web 2 domain. So that is really something that is, we believe, again, at this point, we need, because we need this utility to bridge other folks from Web 2 into Web 3, because these are the behavior that they already understand. And that's what we did with this Chrome extension. It's free. You can download them. Try this, get your .hbar and type it in into the URL and see where it's going to resolve. So you'll experience that that utility. So this is something that we're also excited about, that you'll be able to use even without a wallet, right? So you can type it in into the URL and it will behave as if how other people already know on how to use the internet.
From here, we have this intention of bringing all the Web2 assets and the Web3 assets onto one place. What we have observed is that, let's say, if we give an example and if we talk about GoDaddy, people have their multiple assets and portfolios in GoDaddy. So we have different Web3 providers in different chains, even including in Hedera. And the complexity arises when a person has to manage, let's say, a handful of Web2 domains and also the emerging and evolving Web3 domains. So we thought that we should have a platform, we should come up with a SaaS model to allow a person to seamless manage both kinds of assets, because Web3 domains are going to be more critical, because remember, they are mapped to the wallet addresses and you can in fact send real money to all those wallet addresses. We also have this intention of decentralize the ownership of Web3 domains, simply because though the Web2 domains have given us the great, immense value and success for the entire humanity, Web3 domains would further extend and further give us, the humanity, the decentralized attributes, so that people cannot be deplatformed. People would own the domains for multiple years. They'll have all the details and attributes of the metadata on the ledger, which could be verified and which could be put on the trustless ledger. So we are going to remove the trust requirement in between, especially with the great Hedera hashgraph ledger. So what we have learned from Web 2, we have learned a lot from Web 2. I mean, as all of us know that these domains are have been and these domains have been designed in a way that there is no duplication, and people can maintain their own name servers. But we also have different kinds of problems here, because when the e-commerce started to boot up, when it started to explode, there were a group of people who wanted to abuse the power of Web2 domains. And it was then when squatting and impersonation and lookalike phishing websites or domains started. So these are the key pain point areas when we are transitioning from the Web2 domains to the Web3 domains. We have this intention of making sure that the Web3 domains which get minted on Hedera are free from duplicates, and working along with other service providers, we have ensured that the domains which get minted in .hbar are not duplicated. I mean, people can have their own domains, they can verify on the ledger, and then they can keep these domains on their wallets, obviously. And it's not just the minting of domains. We have a long way to go from here to avenues where people could make and monetize their traffic and contents the way they have been doing in the Web 2. For example, I can give for example, we can talk about Substack, which is like a very excellent, a very successful newsletter. So we can have all those use cases in the Web 3 also. And those services could be hooked and mapped back to the Web 3 domains. Also, what we have seen in the web 2 world is that everybody wants to have an email address at Gmail or let's say Yahoo, and along with the normal generic email addresses, people will also tend to have their official email addresses, let's say john at yourcompany.com, for example. So web3 domains, and especially the web3 as the platform, would also give us an opportunity to create different meaningful toppleable domains. We love to call them as HTLDs because they are all Hedera focused. And while doing that, we also need to train, provide education and awareness to the community, because sometimes it gets confusing and complex for them to understand the attributes and the values of the web3 domains, simply because the browsers don't address them. But eventually this will evolve. So for the time, and so the time so till the time we have reached to that level, we would also like to provide education and do the hand holding to the community so that they could understand about web3 domains and the potential it has. So as I spoke about, for all chains inclusive of Hedera, community is at the center. Without the community in the decentralized world, this will have no meaning, and we ensure that we take every step to make sure community wins at the end of the day. So to do that, we also came up with a HIP and tried to release this in July, which is still in the very early stage of review. And we also started talking to different project owners and NFT projects, especially to help them give and talk about the values of Web3 domains, and especially did .hungry recently and .bhc to make sure. And more than minting of the domains, we wanted to have this opportunity to allow the community to understand the values of these domains, far from the speculative nature, or let's say from the resolving capabilities of a web3 domain into wallet addresses. We are excited that we can do much more in the Hedera community, starting just with the name resolution, gluing and mapping it to the Web2 world via the Google Chrome browser. We intend to do more with the community at the end of the day.
Uh, Even though at present the Web3 names in the Hedera community, there are no duplicates and the community is working in the harmonious manner, but at the same time it's not entirely decentralized at this stage, and there's a lot of work that we as a community needs to do in that direction to actually build a decentralized infrastructure for the entire Hedera community. I believe one step in that direction could be just working towards a DAO that will control or manage and administer the common repository. And just to start in that direction, the first thing that we can do is just integrate a multi-sig approach to the common repository.
Like any other sphere or phase, competition brings great values. It is because of the competition, and this competition is actually added, and it increases to a larger extent just because everything is open out there. The entire data sets are being owned by the community. So with that aspect of the web3 world, more and more competition, more and more new providers would help us, and it would make sure that the features are getting enhanced day after day, day by day, and the community wins at the end of the day. So we welcome more providers. This would also help the community and the topic ID to be truly decentralized tomorrow, because if there are more providers, it is obvious to have a decentralized structure to allow them to participate in the same community, give the freedom of interoperability, as we talk about, from one provider to other, so that they can transfer their .hbar names from one provider to other, or let's say to the provider who has got the maximum benefits, who is more transparent, and who is more receptive to the community, just like we can do with any web2 domain out there. So we need to have a decentralized system, we need to have a multi-sig approach, and so that everything is transparent and community wins at the end of the day. So what next? what's next for Web 2.3? We have some very exciting stuff, but just to name a few, and correlating and going back to the ethos and the philosophy of Web 2.3, we have to have we have to have the support of Web 2 domains. This is why the reason for this is that we cannot exist without Web 2. Web 3 is being built on the foundational layers of the Web 2. So all the aspects of Web 2 will remain there, be it TCP/IP, be it the Web 2 domains, be it the ways we have accessed them. And even though if we intend to have a brand new perspective for the Web 3 part, it will take years to do that just because we are in the transition phase. So this is the primary reason we need to have support for Web 2 domains. And Web 2 domains have been a great values, for example, for anti-spam filters and software. So we also intend to have and use and integrate the social verification capabilities into the Web 3 domain. So it would be great just for discussion purposes, that if somebody can have a Web 3 domain which could be accessed from the Twitter profile. So we are also trying to work on that. And we think that domains are central and core to a person, and in a person's life, coupons also have very important meanings. So eventually we intend to have the coupon systems integrated with the domains, both the Web 2 and Web 3. We are also trying to have the subdomain facilities, because this has been a huge success in the Web 2 world. Because as owner of the Web 2 domain, you can have subdomains running in your domains. And we also have this plan of smart pages, because what we call ourselves is smart domains, and also from the smart domains we intend to evolve into smart pages, which would be essentially allowing these people and the owners of this domain to monetize their traffic and contents, and do not share a single penny of it with any centralized authorities or companies or paywall gardens, for example. Let's consider what you do when you book a domain at GoDaddy, the Web 2 domain. So when you book a domain at GoDaddy, and once you have finished booking this, the GoDaddy website or the service or the application will prompt you with a template of website, which means if you have booked the domain and if you just configure a few items, you would be able to run your own web page. That's the natural extension or the obvious extension when you book any domain with any provider. We are booking domains primarily to run our own websites. It could be a blog service, it could be an e-commerce site, it could be a very complex service, but eventually something needs to run on that web domain or the Web 2 domain. So this is also, we are trying to bring a great utility for the Web 3 domains. We can provide this facility to .hbar domains minted with us, or any hbar or any .hbar domain minted out there, even for the TLDs which we have minted like .hangry or .bhc, where the owners of these domains can go and come to us and can configure their own smart pages. It's like a form of a template, where the template will primarily have these facilities. For example, if you own a wallet, and if you have multiple NFTs lying there in your wallet, the smart page template will automatically fetch those NFTs and display those NFTs to you. But the best part is that now these NFTs are hooked to your name.hbar, john.hbar. They are not linked to any marketplace slash something. They are not linked to any marketplace slash some weird URL. They would all be linked to your name, and you can access them. You can provide those links in the social media handles, Twitter, or wherever you want to have. And these smart pages would allow you to showcase your NFTs. Not only that, we'll have this option of allowing you, as the owner of the Web3 domains, it could be for any .hbar minted out there, and for .hangry and .bhc, we have just started with them, to have your contents be monetized. Because you will have some traffic for your domain. You'll have some people who will follow you religiously, for example, your followers. So people can come to your website, which is essentially a Web3 domain, which is glued and mapped back to the Web2, and allow these people and folks to visit your website, and they can see your NFTs. They can check out your NFTs, for example. Even they can buy out from that place. Just imagine. So it's like if you have a store, if you have a website and you're trying to sell some sweet, for example, you can also do that with Amazon, and you can also have your own website. So the same analogy applies here. You can have your NFTs placed at marketplace, for example, and also your own smart page, your own domain will allow you to make money, so that you can sell NFTs, you can display your NFTs, you can have your followers at one place and whatnot. This could evolve into multiple things. So we are excited to bring smart pages sooner than expected. So the Web3 domains which are getting minted at Hedera will have obvious extensions and features to allow them to be used at different metaverses projects. They would allow automatic logins just because you have those domains in your wallet. It's kind of token gating. That could be one of the possible scenarios. dApps are very important. Without the community and dApps, nothing will work. So it could be a NFT project, it could be a game project, it could be a DeFi project, for example. So we have to, and we intend to integrate as many dApps as possible, give them a hand holding, support them. This is why we started with .hungary and .bhc, so that people could understand the utilities and the hidden power and potential of these Web3 domains. And we intend to provide further support to the new opportunities and the projects. And most importantly is that Web3 gives the strength and the power to end people, even a person, for example, a celebrity or even a normal person, to mint a TLD for himself. Otherwise, in the Web 2 ICANN world, it would be very complex, very, very expensive to run a TLD for himself. So we also have this intention of allowing a person or an entity, smaller company or the bigger, it doesn't matter, to have Hedera specific top level domains so that they can have their own space, own sphere in those TLDs.
Thank you very much, Sam, for passing it on to me. And I'd just like to say a few words, ending words about our company, that we are really very open. We've talked to most of the organizations in the Hedera ecosystem, from the wallet providers, the DEXs, the DeFi space, um, launchpads, project creators themselves, gamers. So everyone of all most the entities in the Hedera space, we've already reached out to, and we are excited and offer again our services, because we believe that domain names are really a very integral part in the digital transformation of things. We call them, we've heard of terminologies like digital twins. And if you cannot make objects that you see on screen and make them engageable, then it's just we're gonna be just watching like a video. So here we are, with the power and promise of Web3. We would like to extend it to help everyone in the community, and we need the community's help in order to provide this service, and the infrastructure that we need in Web3. Thank you very much again to Swirlds organization, the HBAR Foundation, and of course to the Hedera Governing Council members, because if not with them, for them, we won't be here. We're very grateful for all the wonderful things that they've been doing for us. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicholas from StackUp, and I'm really excited and honored to have this opportunity to share a little bit about how we are tackling developer onboarding in the Web3 space and how we hope to bring the same positive impact for developers such as yourself, right, to join Hedera's ecosystem, right, and how you might be interested to join our platform and really benefit from it as well. A little bit more about us. StackUp is a learning and earning platform with more than 60,000 developers, right, coming globally from both Web2 and Web3. Our platform educates devs about the latest technologies, programming languages, and introduces them to new Web3 ecosystems. We are focusing on exposing the larger Web2 developer base, right? Whether they be beginners or intermediates, right? From emerging or developed markets, bring everyone into the Web3 space. We've seen a lot of potential, right? Given the size of the Web2 developer base and how interested they are. Many of them are just looking for someone to welcome them into the space, right? From our start earlier till this year, right, till date, we have worked with multiple client partners, each time engaging thousands of developers and onboarding them onto our client partners' developer ecosystems. Our content currently is best suited for beginner to intermediate level devs looking to kind of really brush up on the web development foundation and commence the exploration into Web3. So if this sounds like you, please do check us out at app.stackup.dev or Twitter at StackUpHQ. From either side, you can really find easy ways, right, to join our platform and really try out what we have to offer. Most importantly, right, it is free to join, free to participate, and free to earn, right? We're really open to everyone joining and benefiting from the content and reward opportunities that our platform has to offer. We're also part of a larger company group called Tribe, where we also offer further down the funnel developer engagement opportunities, such as hackathons, incubators, accelerators that you might be interested in as well, both offline and physical, right? And this really allows us to help bring you along further into the respective ecosystems, right? And really kind of deepen your developer learning journey. This allows us to really provide the end-to-end suite of activities that helps you regardless of where you are, right, in your learning journey. So I'd like to take this chance to really share about some key aspects about how StackUp goes about developer education and onboarding, right? What is our special sauce that may interest you or will benefit you in your particular situation as well, right? Which has also helped us deliver the desired impact for learners and client partners alike. I think it's the lack of supply of developers in the Web3 space, right, relative to the demand and interest, it's already pretty well known, right? I guess what everyone is trying to figure out is what are the barriers to entry and how we can tackle them, right? How do we get learners to be really willing to sit down and go through all of the learning tutorials and content and bring themselves to a point where they're interested and capable of doing their own projects, right? Whether they be big or small. And at StackUp, we found that optimizing for this initial phase of learning really goes a long way, right, in impacting longer term developer activity, right, whether it be terms of quantity or quality. So, speaking of the special flavor that we seek to bring, what is it, right? How would we, help learners take better to the learning journey, right, such as yourself, right, and joining a developer ecosystem such as Hedera's? I think one key aspect is our effective incentives for learning, right? We have seen that when we really jump straight into providing just crypto tokens and the like when covering Web3 content, the effectiveness of incentives can be dampened because learners being new are unable to appreciate, right, the value of the incentives we are offering, right? And in cases where they don't have access to off-ramp solutions, they also cannot realize the rewards to maybe address the more urgent needs in their lives. So from the get-go, our platform ensures that our learning incentives were available, right, in the form that users are already comfortable with, which is fiat currency rewards, right, their own local currencies. This is where, by giving them a reward form that they're familiar with, we focus on this strong incentivization at the start, right, to get people to try things out and learn, right, and the kind of crypto adoption comes a bit later. We have seen that fiat rewards let learners such as yourself, right, take the rewards to directly pay and turbocharge for their further learning, right? Traveling for boot camps, joining hackathons, conferences, paying for your own projects, right? And we also see that giving learners such as yourself the pace, right, and the space to really uh, adopt at your own comfort, right, is turns out for the better, right? Because while users start off always preferring fiat rewards, after going through the content, we see that the user base is then better able to appreciate the value of what we're introducing, right? And they start actually shifting towards being more comfortable with receiving and adopting crypto-related rewards, incentives, or activities. We're also very intentional, right, in our content design to make it more accessible and friendly for developers from all backgrounds. In our learning content, right, we make sure to address some gaps, like lack of clarity in learning pathways, right, where developers often share how they feel lost, right, with how complex and fast-moving the Web3 space is. So we ensure that all learning content is very clear in how it contributes to their overall learning journey, and this also comes into play with ensuring that in the content itself, we also address any possible lack of prerequisite knowledge, right, that the learners may have. We make no assumptions. We try to make it as accessible as possible for even folks with the even most beginner knowledge in development. And I think when in terms of the prerequisite knowledge, addressing it, while this does not pose an obstacle to the most eager and competent learners, when this goes unaddressed, the assuming that your developers are of a certain skill level can very much be a barrier if we wish to widen our nets to capture the larger developer and learner audience. In terms of tackling such a gap, we often build available resources and just be super focused, right, on filling up all the possible gaps that we can see, right, and we be it by getting learners themselves to really test out the content beforehand, to really dog food it and try to figure out what else is missing and that we can kind of make sure to include in to smoothen everyone's learning journey together. Another lesser known but also important aspect that we're really kind of focused on, right, and particular about is actually how our content deals with hardware restrictions, right? I think at the start, when you're dealing with a very select group of developers who maybe have access to more capital, better resources, and the like, is again not too much of an issue. But given that we're targeting larger segments of the global developer base, right, and we're trying to cater to everyone of all backgrounds, we find that there's some real-world constraints that learners face that are very significant, especially emerging markets, right? For example, we find that Windows users, for example, very commonly struggle with some of the key developer tools that are provided, because these developer tools may be more catered towards Mac or Linux systems, right? And this results in learners being bogged down by tricky issues that is caused by instability in the tools or in their own setups, right? And these are the types of things that they will naturally be unable to troubleshoot given their newness to the whole Web3 and maybe even development in general. This really impacts the reach of an ecosystem and how welcoming it can be for new learners, especially when even easily up to half of the developers are still using Windows, for example. So in our content, we do our utmost to ensure that the learning content is catered and accounts for these variances in setups, providing workarounds and other alternative methods of setting up their environments, for example, and executing the tasks that are covered in the tutorials. Last but not least, we also have a community aspect that's very crucial in helping learners such as yourselves out as well that you might be interested in, right? We have a community living on Discord as well that's very collaborative in working together to tackle learning content and to support each other. And this is despite being the rewards and incentives being limited, right, in number. When any client partners have their content released, we have many learners, right, troubleshooting for each other and providing guidance. By addressing these aspects, right, we've really seen, right, how a developer's learning journey is really smoothened, and we've seen how learners are using our rewards and incentives to push for more opportunities on their end, right? Again, buying resources, tools, hardware, funding their own adventures into the ecosystem, right? And we really see how that makes a difference, which is why we look forward to doing the same, right, in the Hedera ecosystem. So yeah, that's more or less what I had in store. Hope this quick sharing was enjoyable and interesting for everyone. Again, please do check us out at app.stickup.dev or Twitter at StickUpHQ, right? Either place easy instructions to just check out what we have to offer if you're looking to, brush up on your web development, and even, Solidity, for example. It's free to join, free to participate, free to earn, right? It's all there waiting for you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Haya. I'm the program manager of Outlier Ventures Hedera Basecamp. So Outlier Ventures is an accelerator that supports startups that are building on Web3 in the metaverse. And I work specifically with our Hedera Basecamp. So we focus on supporting companies that are building on the Hedera ecosystem. So this is just a snapshot of OV's overall portfolio companies that we've worked with in the past. And we try to cover, different types of companies, some that are, more traditional and having raised equity, and some that have actually live tokens, and some that have raised via token or via NFTs. The goal of us, coordinating with Hedera was, primarily to support and accelerate the growth of Hedera, but also because we saw synergies there in terms of what Hedera's technology offers, specifically when it comes to, companies that are selling to enterprise and who are looking for stable and reliable fees, and a reliable platform to build on. Of course, the sustainability angle is something that we've also found really interesting in a world that's becoming more and more sustainability focused. These are things that we looked at when partnering with Hedera. So what do we offer the Hedera ecosystem or founders in the Hedera ecosystem? What we offer is 360 degrees of support. So we are not like an accelerator that works with a large volume of teams. We work with a select volume of teams that are building on Hedera, and then we give very tailored, very hands-on support. And this support really covers everything from tech, product, token design, community, NFT strategy, should you go down that route, and then of course fundraising and token structuring, and legal, because we can never forget legal when it comes to Web3, because we are navigating uncharted territories, and it's really important to be on the right side of things. So this is the support that we offer founders in the Hedera ecosystem. So we have a 12-week program called the Basecamp program, and this one specifically focusing on Hedera. So we either choose teams that are already building on Hedera, or teams that we think have the potential to have a good fit with Hedera, and then we accept them into our 12-week program. And the way we add value is through our 3 Ps, so people, partners, and process. So people is within Outlier Ventures, or OV. We have a very strong team of experts, around 40 experts actually, across the different areas that I've mentioned to you before. These experts are available at your beck and call throughout the program. We also rely a lot on our partners. So we have partners through investors or previous founders that we can connect you to, as well as research partners and other sorts of partners that can help accelerate you growing your company. And then finally, this is something that we've done many times before, and by now we have a process that we know works. So, all teams join this process where we focus on setting goals and OKRs, and tracking performance and reflecting and iterating when something doesn't work. So the whole purpose is, in 3 months' time, we want to support you to kind of go through growth that you would in a year or even more on your own. So part of that is a very rigorous process. So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the things that I've mentioned. So first, I mentioned our team. So this is just a snapshot of the 40 experts we have across legal, fundraising, token design and economies, tech support, and ecosystem to connect you with other Outlier Ventures teams. And this like a snapshot of people we've partnered with. You can see, exchanges, centralized exchanges, DEXs, market makers. Because we also do provide a program after Basecamp, and this is for more advanced teams that are looking to launch a token to help them execute on token launch, which we know is very important. And then, we have our process that I've mentioned. So what does this process look like? If you're curious and you want to get a better understanding. We have 3 main phases. Of course, we accept founders and teams that are in different levels of maturity. So sometimes, some teams are a little bit more advanced and sometimes some teams are earlier. And due to our very tailored hands-on approach, we can accommodate different levels of maturity within teams. But roughly speaking, this is what the process looks like. The first phase is where you go through mentor madness, and it's basically 1 to 2 weeks of meeting with as many people as possible, mentors, people within Outlier Ventures, and getting a lot of feedback and input into your company. Very often what happens is you uncover opportunities that you haven't thought of before, or you also spot gaps that you haven't thought of before. So based on these opportunities and gaps, and based on your initial goals of joining Outlier Ventures, we put together a plan for the rest of the program. And then for the second bulk of the program, we really double down and focus on making sure you get the knowledge that you need in order to execute on your vision. So that's when a lot of the specialized one-to-one meetings happen. The specialized one-to-one meetings happen with our expert teams, and that's when we give you more tailored support. Finally, phase 3 is when you have the knowledge, and it's more about us facilitating you building and growing. So this phase is around this phase is around introducing you to other companies and potential partners and potential investors. So it's really when we start leveraging our network to help you go through the growth that you need to go through. So I mentioned a little bit about our ecosystem and the mentors that we work closely with. We have a big group of mentors that fall across 5 areas. The first area is, mentors also be investors, and those I think are a little bit of a category of their own. But we also have sector experts, so people who are experts in a particular domain. So let's say you're building, a DeFi tool or DAO tooling, and they're experts that are kind of, in that domain. And then we have domain experts. So domain experts would cover things like, tech or product or growth and business development. And then we have, our connectors who help introduce you to other people. And I think a big part of our philosophy is that this space has to grow together and through partnerships and through connecting to each other. And we have some people with brilliant networks who are more than happy to sort of introduce you to other people and facilitate those connections. And finally, and this is something that really is very much at the center of our ethos, is founders. We connect you to other founders who have been through the journey you're going through, who are familiar with the ups and downs, and who can basically help you navigate your journey, not just from a business standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint as well. So what do we look for and what do we offer in return? So every other quarter we run this program, and we're currently running the second Hedera base camp. So we had our first already 6 months ago, and we're currently midway through our second. So we look for around 6 to 8 promising teams that are there, as I mentioned, building on Hedera, or that we see have a really good fit with Hedera and Hedera's ecosystem, community, and tech. We are focusing on sustainability solutions, on infrastructure plays, on companies that are building bridges between TradFi and DeFi, and I think bridges actually in general between Web 2 and Web 3, and metaverse infrastructure as well. And of course, these companies all have to be in a position where they're able to best leverage Hedera's hashgraph and everything this amazing tech has to offer. In return, we give all-around expert support. So really, as I mentioned, hands-on expert support for 3 months, as well as 2 months, a little bit less hands-off, but like post-program support. We also give a cash grant upfront, because we know that in order for you to focus, you kind of need a little bit of cash to set those fears aside so that you can focus on growth and on your next stage. So we give cash upfront, and then we give access to OV's ecosystem and Hedera's ecosystem as well, because we work very closely with the HBAR Foundation, and in fact the HBAR Foundation are our partners. So we make sure kind of to tag team and to give you not just the network of Outlier Ventures, but the network of the HBAR Foundation as well. And that's it from my end. I hope that, if you're considering applying, or if you want to learn more, please, find me on Twitter. My name is Haya, and my email is haya@outlierventures.io. Okay. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name's Nico. I'm working BD for the HBAR Foundation. Today we're just going to give you a very, very broad overview of the grants program that we do at the HBAR Foundation, and more importantly, how you can get involved. So the HBAR Foundation was set up about 12 months ago to accelerate the ecosystem adoption. To date, we've given out about 360 million worth of grants. So this isn't all out the door, this is committed, and this has been over about 167 grants in total. And typically startups get around 10 to 30% of the grant up front. We don't take equity, which is quite a unique proposition in the marketplace, but we do ask for a number of things in return, such as transactions, volume of transactions, total value locked, and value add to the wider ecosystem. We want a self-sustaining economy, which means that give and take amongst all of our ecosystem players, and this can only be achieved with low friction commerce and mutually beneficial partnerships. And this is not just financial, we give out technical and marketing support as well, because we know how hard those things are to find in this current ecosystem. You need to remember that you are the most important piece in this process, because without founders, we would fund nothing. And Web3 is a rapidly kind of evolving system and field. And, anything that was rolled out a year ago is still very, very young. So we're constantly updating and tweaking our process and product as well. We want to make sure we are value aligned. We are very, very aligned to sustainability and innovation. And we want to make sure that we partner with startups that also have those values. It makes the whole system a lot more easy going forward. We want to focus on the ecosystem. We want to grow the ecosystem. That's the primary reason the HBAR Foundation was established. And if you do want to get involved, I would suggest having a look at our website, having a look at the grant application form, and reaching out to one of the team to help you understand any questions you have. Because it's an iterative process, back and forth. We make sure that you understand the right parts of the grant application process that are right for you. And if you do want to learn about Hedera from a kind of entrepreneur or developer frontier, then it's very, very easy to find those people and find those communities to get involved. So we like to speak about two main things with Hedera. The first of which is the technology, and the second is the governance. And the governance, which is, I believe, more of a USP, from my opinion, is truly something unique in the DLT space. We are owned and governed by some of the largest organizations that you've heard of, such as Google, Boeing, IBM, Avery Dennison, a number of banks, a number of universities that you've all heard of. And we believe this gives us a real edge over the other DLTs, because this shows that these big corporations truly believe in our technology and our vision, which means that you have some comfort in choosing us too. Another thing to note is that we're not a blockchain, we're a hash graph. And this means that we are able to have those technological kind of better features that I mentioned before. We're not technically a blockchain, we're a hash graph, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of anyway. We were designed to be a 100-year company, which means that lots and lots of the governance that we speak about are very similar to those we see in the corporate world. Very risk management focused and very consensus focused, based on all of our governing council members. Decisions are made not lightly, but for the better of the whole ecosystem in making these decisions. I'll speak a little bit more about the governing council. Many of these will be familiar to you, and we've chosen these to be geographically and sector diverse, so that we have very, very true and broad representation of lots of the ecosystems, lots of sectors, and lots of geographies as well. A number of these companies are actually building on Hedera. I'll talk about Atma, and I'll talk about Toko. So Atma is a supply chain transparency tool. It was built by Avery Dennison, and it was on Hedera Hashgraph. Now, that has been a huge success. It just goes to show that you can do an application with millions upon millions of transactions, and it has no effect on the wider ledger that is Hedera. And it's been really good to see really good corporate use case, and the feedback from them has been really good as well. DLA Piper is a legal firm, and they've built a system called Toco. They've built a sort of tokenizing legal assets, whether it's debt issuance or IP or real estate. They've built a way to tokenize these sorts of assets on Ledger. And again, that's a really exciting use case that we've seen from one of our governing council members. So I'll speak a little bit about the three services that we like to talk about. The first one is a smart contract service, consensus service, and of course the token service. So the smart contract service is EVM compatible, which means that all of your smart contracts built in Solidity will be absolutely fine within our service, so that's great. And they can all be referenced via an API. The consensus service, again, extremely cheap, extremely quick. It's run using topics, messaging, and of course the token service, again, referenced by API. And it's another USP that we have on Hedera is that it's native on Hedera, which means it can be extremely cheap to run, extremely fast, and everything, all of one of these are built for interoperability with other chains. So again, really exciting core components there from Hedera. And all of these can be accessed very easily and very quickly via APIs, and you can find more and more details about them within our documentation. The last slide that I'd like to talk about is the green kind of nature of our chain. I've mentioned before that we're not a blockchain, we're a hash graph, which is a third generation kind of the blockchain technologies, with Bitcoin being number one, Ethereum being level two, with kind of programmability and things like that. Hashgraph is layer 3. And you can really see it in these numbers here that it's far superior to any of the other chains, including Visa, as you can see in the bottom left, which obviously isn't chain, but it's just good to show that how quick and kind of good for the environment Hedera is in comparison to all these other chains as well. So this is a slide that I really like to talk about. So in saying that, I think let's just remind ourselves what the HBAR Foundation is, because I could talk about technology all day long. We are a grant-giving organization. We give grants in the form of money, HBAR and USD, but we also give support in the areas of marketing and technical advice, which in this landscape is very hard to come by. There's a global crunch on developers. So we really see our value proposition as supporting the ecosystem. We really want to help you grow, but the best way to get started is to reach out to someone like myself or anyone else in the BD team and get the conversation going, because we're always on the lookout for ambitious starters, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. So in saying that, I'll keep it short, but thanks a lot for your time. Look forward to hearing from you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to Hedera and the HBAR Foundation for inviting us to the Hedera Ecosystem Week. So we are Lumos Labs, and we are one of the partners that have worked with Hedera predominantly in the Indian ecosystem, right? To start off with, let me introduce myself. My name is Kavya. I'm the founder of Lumos Labs. What we essentially have been doing is running developer engagement programs in Web3 for different chains, and Hedera is one of the chains that we've been working with. So a little bit about the Lumos story, right? We started off in 2018, and one of the biggest problems back then was the scarcity of developers, and we wanted to contribute to that ecosystem and build the developer ecosystem and make it more robust through several innovation programs that we were doing. In the course of the last 4 years, we've been able to deploy about $3 million in grant money in the hands of the developers through our programs. We've run about 45 different innovation programs. We've gotten a revenue of about 1.2 million. And we've also been able to gather a community of about 60K developers in this course of time. That's a little bit about us, right? Let's move into what we've been doing with Hedera. So in the last year, Hedera and Lumos, we've run one developer hackathon, one accelerator program, and a lot of PR around the two activities, and also some different programs that they wanted us to kind of show forth and publicize in the Indian ecosystem. So a little bit about the PR side, right? So we've done a lot of PR around the programs that we ran in India for Hedera. Starting with the hackathon that we did in 2021. We've been able to gather a lot of traction for the announcements that we did. And overall, we've been able to get about 67K views in the course of the entire hackathon across several publications. Same with the Hatch Web3 Accelerator, and I will get to the details of the two programs as well. With that, we also there was a NFT drop with AR Rahman that came out, and he is a very big celebrity in India, and we were employed to essentially work with the Hedera ecosystem to essentially bring about more viewership for this NFT drop and get relevant publications to essentially talk about the AR Rahman NFT drop. We also were able to get Hedera into one of the largest publications in India. It's also a global publication called CNBC TV18. And there was a very interesting conversation that happened between Hedera and the publication itself. With that, also, Hedera did have a partnership with IIT Madras, where they were building a governing council, and we were asked to amplify that in the Indian ecosystem as well. All of this has had a lot of traction in the Indian community, and Hedera has gotten a name within this ecosystem now with the kind of work that we've been doing with them. Here are a few snippets of what we've been doing with Hedera. We've been able to get them onto Cointelegraph, into Financial Express, into TOI, all of which are very big publications in India. The viewership honestly goes up to like millions. Moving on, we did do the hackathon, which was Hedera's first hackathon focused in the Indian subcontinent in 2021. The hackathon was a success. We were looking at three main tracks for this hackathon: sustainability, finance, and entertainment. In terms of numbers, we've been able to get an overwhelming response of 2,272 registrations, out of which we got about 63 idea submissions, after which we finalized the best ideas of them. That were about 15 ideas, and we were able to get about 8 teams to integrate with Hedera and actually build their solution. And we had one demo day. The prize money that was deployed was $12,000 through this program, and it was spread across the 3 winners and an integration for the rest of the folks that were able to integrate with Hedera with the solution. The 3 winners were mostly on the entertainment side. So there was one that was doing a movie streaming platform, one that was a social media network, and another one was a mailing tool with no central servers. So all of them are now looking at taking this project to the next level and making them into startups. Because of what this hackathon did for Hedera in the Indian ecosystem, Hedera was very, very excited about working with us on something more serious, where we could get startups to essentially work and build on the Hedera chain, right? So with that, we launched the Hatch Web3 Accelerator. This accelerator is currently ongoing and we are in the bootcamp phase of the accelerator, but we have had an overwhelming response of startups applying for this accelerator as well. In fact, it is Lumos Labs' personal record as well that we've hit with this accelerator. So the idea of this accelerator was to help the guys who went through our hackathon and give them a platform to get to the next level, and also help startups sort of with mentorship, with funding support, with ecosystem support, with networking and integration technology support through this accelerator program. The idea was to help startups that are looking for a platform and for go-to-market support to get to the next level. With that, we had several tracks for this. We kind of kept that open-ended and looked at the areas of focus that Hedera was looking at, and we kind of kept that across pretty much every industry in the ecosystem, right? But in terms of the milestone, which is the record that I was talking about, we've had 558 startups apply for this accelerator program, which has been very overwhelming. With that, we went through all the startups, did a shortlisting, and were able to shortlist about 121 startups that made sense within and were within the tracks that we had essentially set out with this accelerator program. And with the bootcamp phase, we sort of came down to 53 very, very good startups that would be that would build traction for the Hedera chain, essentially. With the 53 startups, then we worked with the Hedera team and were able to come down to 20 startups that are now moving on to the bootcamp phase. In the bootcamp phase, we have several different sessions sort of lined up for them that they will sort of go through, and after which there will be a demo day where the integrated startups would essentially showcase and win the grant money of about $150K. With that, these are the engagements that we've had with Hedera so far, right? But I don't think it ends there. And I do think that there is a lot more we can do with Lumos and Hedera and build the developer ecosystem and sort of make it way bigger than what it is already, right? So in the last 4 years, we've been running innovation programs as a service. But in the last year, we have launched a metaverse, and we're looking at sort of making developer relations for organizations a lot easier through the metaverse. So a little bit about the metaverse, right? For developers, we're looking at this as a place where they can come, learn, earn, collaborate with like-minded folks. Think of it as a gamified world for developers where they can discover different opportunities from different Web3 platforms. So they have hackathons, bounties, job opportunities, grant opportunities, everything sort of laid out and aggregated in this one platform and gamified in a way where the more they work within the world, the more points and levels that they grow within the world. They are also able to build a career profile, which would essentially be a dynamic NFT that they can build on. And it becomes easier for organizations and other developers to discover each other and also verify if whatever they're saying on their resume is true. So that's a little bit for the developers, right? Building a world that makes it easier to discover developer opportunities in Web3. And for companies like Hedera, we're looking at building state-of-the-art headquarters within the world where they can showcase every developer-centric opportunity that they have and get traction for that within this ecosystem. Also, there are a lot of branding opportunities, a lot of workshops they can conduct, and a lot of traction that they can build for developer relations within this ecosystem. So here I have showcased a few things here that are features within the metaverse that we are offering for chains out there. And this could be something that we can build with Hedera and actually build that developer ecosystem within the Hedera world itself. With that, there is also a dashboard that the businesses get, which can essentially help you figure out what sort of developers are coming into your headquarters, figure out who is going to be, who has what skill set, and what are they looking out for at this point? Is it a job? Is it opportunities? Are they looking for freelance gigs, etc.? Which would mean that the strategies that the Hedera can take to put out different programs for the developers can be data driven and can be made into, can be broken down into decisions that are meant that you can see in the dashboard as well. So that's a little bit about what we are doing and what we can essentially provide for Hedera in the future as well. we're looking at launching this platform in March next year, Q1 next year, and we're hoping Hedera sort of comes onto this platform as well. That's a little bit about us. So thank you so much, and thank you, Hedera, again for being a part of our partner network as well.